You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome in. It's the Insight NFL Podcast with our last show of the week, our Week 8 primer, and also our starts of the week as well, which is a nice fun one. Secko, good to see you across from me again tonight. I've just got to ask before we dive into things, are you wearing dry socks or wet socks tonight?
Wet socks all the way. Poor Wetty. He's caught a bit of a hammering on the socials today, but old Soxy, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. We'll keep him going until he gets a game. How about we go hard until he actually finally gets a game, and then we'll rein it back a bit for him.
Yeah, I like it. I can't speak for Mav though. I reckon whether he starts or not, he's wet sock for the rest of his life. To Mav. So, and for the listeners tuning in, if you have absolutely no idea what's going on in last night's SuperCoach trade show, link is in the below for you. Mav loves a wet sock. So yeah, that's all I'll give away. But along with our trade show, that's below our captain's huddle as well, and also our buy low and sell highs for the week, which has really taken off this week as well. Guys, to get in before week 8, and God, week 8 already. It's so I just can't believe we're at this stage. I'm trying not to be sad about it, but we just have to enjoy while we have it. But a few less games this week. There is 6 teams on bye, the biggest bye week that we've had so far. So a lot to digest. We'll go through a lot of injuries. We've got a whole massive list here with a couple of key stars looking to return. And we'll also go in through our starts of the week, of course, and our week 8 breakdown for each game. But Secko, before we dive into it all, I mean, so many injuries. We hate to see that list come through, and especially on a week that's so many buys as well. It's gonna be an absolutely journey to try and navigate through. What are you most excited for in week 8? I know that's a very loaded question because it could go anywhere, but how are you feeling?
Well, my Rams are on bye, so it's a pure week of just watching only the guys I have across my however many fantasy leagues I have. I'm actually looking forward to, hopefully, fingers crossed, he gets through training, but training in any capacity, I think he plays. Lamar being back, I've got Lamar in a bunch of spots, primarily in dynasty spots, which Superflex dynasty can get pretty thin at quarterback when you've got Lamar and you haven't got much else behind him when he's injured. So pumped to have him back. That's from a selfish point of view. There's a couple of key guys back from injury. Well, not key guys. There's no real big. Good thing about injuries is there hasn't been any massive names go out. There hasn't been any massive names sort of coming back in just yet, which is frustrating. But Brock Purdy's another one. Aaron Jones is trying to come back. There's a couple more, maybe Terry, Debo. We'll see what happens there. Unlikely. Christian Watson's another one. So there's a few guys coming back. We'll hit on them more in detail and what their impact might be. But I'm looking forward to some guys we haven't seen for a while be back in the fold. Unfortunately, it's not Tampa Bay guys at the moment.
Yeah, it's sad. Sad seeing those Tampa Bay guys out. And Bucky, I mean, like, what's going on there? He's missed 4 weeks. Hopefully back after their bye next week there. But yeah, we need Bucky back in the surface, man. We need him there. We need Baker firing again. But we will get into the injuries very shortly. But beforehand, with our usual Q&A segment that we'll have, guys, we appreciate all the comments as well. Absolutely love to see it. We will limit these to purely just start-sit decisions for this week. Traditional fantasy, or even if you've got a couple little SuperCoach trade dilemmas, I know that's always a hot topic. Make sure to throw those in, and we'll aim to get through as many as we can at the end of the show. But let's jump straight into our injury report. Kick things off, Lamar Jackson limited at practice today. It is one to monitor, but it is trending in the right direction. So fingers crossed for him. Zay Flowers, he's been a shell of himself with Cooper Rush and Snoop Huntley that they rolled out with for a limited period of time. Derrick Henry as well has been a disaster. And I'm keen to see with National Tight End Day, I have to bring that up, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, how that split goes if it is Lamar. But, I mean, without Lamar, this team is just – it's night and day. And hopefully against the Bears, all guns are firing because there could be plenty of points in this game between the Bears here. But Secko, who do you like between Likely and Andrews if they're both healthy back on deck after the bye with Lamar?
Andrews. I mean, I don't know if Andrews' performances have really been on not having Lamar. Usually, these guys can get a bit of a bump when the backup guy comes in. Biggest target, shortest hands, safest sort of guy to go for. I sort of feared the cliff, and that resurgence last year was a bit like a last little death rattle. And he just hasn't looked any good this year. Likely, on the other hand. Harbaugh said that he expects him to be in was it Pro Bowl form, which is a weird thing to say at the start of the season when he was injured. But he expects him to be a Pro Bowler this year. If he wants that to come true, he has to get absolutely peppered for the last 10 weeks. So I'm expecting likely to be the main guy, just between you and me. But I'm not expecting either of them to be amazing. So we'll see what happens there. If Lamar's back to his fine, and look, Lamar's hammy, what was a hamstring, right? Yeah. If it's not good, it does limit him taking off and running for 80 to 100. That takes it off the table. So he may look to sort of drop back and throw more, and then likely or Andrews can be a lot better. And so we'll see what happens. But I like likely if you had to pick one.
I'm a fan of that. A couple of guys that we did mention briefly, Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin ruled out already by head coach Todd Bowles there. And again, they do have the bye next week, so hopefully back after that. And of course, Mike Evans, he'll miss until probably, I think, December. They're thinking he'll be out for. Aaron Jones activated off IR. He is trending towards playing in tomorrow's opener for the week against the Chargers there. Dalton Kincaid, Secko, he's limited, trending towards playing. He did miss some time with that oblique coming off the bye. And then in pairing with that, Josh Palmer did not practice. So I know for me, as a Bills fan, we really need Kincaid badly. I was surprised by how much of an impact he had made when he didn't play in that game against the Patriots. So hopefully he can come back in all cylinders firing, because I think Keon Coleman, I don't know if he's it. I think there's been enough showing and enough opportunities. But how do you feel about the Bills' passing attack? Do you think Kincaid slots in as that number one if he does play, or do you like Khalil Shakir, you Keon Coleman guy, or could it just be Cook?
Like Keon Coleman. It screams of a James Cook game, just quietly. But if we have to break down the passing game, Palmer being out, it does definitely give a tick to Keon Coleman. I actually think he's startable. Playing against Carolina at home or in Carolina, they do score pretty well. They perform pretty well. They've got a good running back team at the moment. So I expect them to put up some points. And Buffalo's D hasn't been what it was in the past. So I feel like this could be a game where they have to pass a bit more. But James Cook, I think will do a lot of work, because Carolina's D has been susceptible to sort of grounding out the game in yards on the ground. Kincaid is essential to the node. Knox just clearly isn't it. We saw it 2 weeks ago. It just wasn't. He caught a touchdown, did he? Or maybe he dropped it and did something. But he's thereabouts, but he's just not the same guy. Kincaid's really come on this year, so he's massive. And Shakir's my guy in that whole offense. I think he's my favourite player to watch. He's the most impactful of the receivers, and it's sort of Josh Allen plays it smart. And I think he's called pretty smart by whoever whoever the coordinator is, Joe Brady or John Brady, whatever his name is. He gets the ball in his hand. So it's sort of like a Rushy Rice light sort of thing, where they make sure they get the ball in his hands, even if it's a screen pass or he's ADOS, like almost negative at times, but he makes things happen because he's good with the hands and good with the move. So Shakir is a must start, I think, this week, and then obviously Kincaid as well, and probably leave Coleman if you've got better options. But with bye weeks, he's probably startable as well.
Love it. And moving on, the 49ers, Brock Purdy's limited. He was a late ruling out last week, and Mac Jones had another start. Again, trending in the right direction, but I'm not too confident in Brock Purdy playing again this week. Ricky Pearsall, I am confident that he won't play this week. He didn't practice. He's still dealing with that injury, but they've got Jawan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, and George Kittle. Of course, National Tight Ends Day, he's a touchdown guarantee. You've heard it here first, so we'll see how that one plays out. Bryce Young, all but ruled out. It looks to be Andy Dalton starting up against the Bills. For the Chicago Bears, there's a trio of players that didn't practice. DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet. I'm probably most confident that Kmet won't play. He's doubtful with that back. He left the game early, but how do you feel about Swift and Moore Secko, is this a sign of it's just too early in the week yet to make the call? Definitely want to monitor, but
Possibly too early. I think Swift will play. There doesn't seem to be much there. If he doesn't, though, God, Mononga is a rocket through the roof. He was looking pretty good. I still think he's going to be very much behind the pecking order or behind Swift over the next couple of weeks, but the matchup's so good. This week, I think for all, Moore is a bit of a strange one. He missed practice on the Wednesday the week before and then played. So it could be the same sort of thing after going to hospital with what was considered a groin hip complaint, which is weird to go to hospital for. They might just be holding him out. I think Komet's definitely out as well, but Swift will play and Moore's a watch.
Jerry Jeudy didn't practice for the Cleveland Browns. Njoku's limited. One to monitor there. It could just be the Harold Fannin show for Dylan Gabriel. Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers. He finally returned to practice. He was limited. Very good chance he makes his season debut. And in turn, Dontavian Wicks didn't practice with a calf, so he could slot straight in. They are screaming out for wide receiver help. It's just going to be Tucker Kraft. I think Golden just hasn't really been doing too much. Josh Downs, limited in practice. He missed last week, looking to get back into it. This one here, Secko, Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, both not practicing. Yep. We saw Nico Collins leave the game early last week against the Seahawks with that concussion. And Kirk, I believe he's dealing with a hamstring injury. So if both of these guys miss, who are you liking to slot straight in as being the number one target for CJ Stroud?
I'm going to be Dalton Schultz. Their wide receiver core is just not showing quite enough yet. Higgins, Knoll, and Hutchinson, they're all sort of not there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jaden Higgins, after doing nothing for the best part of 2 months, comes out and absolutely has a game that we would love Nico Collins to have or expect Nico Collins to have. But if he misses, I think Dalton Schultz is the most startable, obviously being a tight end. Other than that, I probably would just avoid. They've looked a bit gross. They're favourites. They're favourites against San Francisco. Like that's mind blowing.
Yeah,
their run game's been shit. Their passing has been shit. The defense has been good, but they're going to score 13 points. Like, how are they going to win?
Yeah, I feel like the books, they might be with they're trending towards Brock Purdy, maybe not getting the start. Maybe it's Mac Jones in there, but even still, they should be favourites. The Texas offense, it's a joke.
It is a joke. So George Kittle, let's go George Kittle into San Fran money line. This is not a betting show. You gamble responsibly. It's $4.50. But that's come on. That's ridiculous. Anyway,
I mean, you could do a whole lot worse. Yeah, it's definitely not a wet sock. That's for sure there. But we've gone.
No dry sock. That one.
Saying Haskins is out for the LA Chargers. He was the second running back there. So it looks to be Kamani Vidal, maybe a little bit of Naheem Hines, one to watch in tomorrow's game. Darren Waller, a nice little starter here for tight end for us for a couple of weeks. He's on IR with that pec strain, so he'll miss at least 4 weeks. We'll see what they do there. I mean, Jalen Waddle, it looks like he's healthy. Maybe Malik Washington. Maybe they get, I think it's Julian Hill is that backup tight end that they might have. So, I mean, I think it's probably just going to be all A-chain, to be honest. But in this one, he's just going to get so many targets. Joe Alt, star tackle for the LA Chargers. He is limited. He missed the last few weeks with that ankle injury. Good chance that he returns tomorrow against the Vikings, and they need him bad, that offensive front. Chris Olave, geez, I absolutely butchered that. He missed Wednesday's practice with an ankle injury. This one, that took me by surprise. This kind of came out of nowhere. But again, early in the week, it is only Wednesday. Again, we've still got a few more days of practice yet. We'll have to see how that one plays out for them here. And one that I want to ask you on, Secko, Tyrod Taylor, backup or starting quarterback for the New York Jets. That's still to be determined. Limited with a knee injury. Who do you think starts this week? I mean, like, again, it could really be anything, but which way are you kind of leaning for the Jets?
I'm leaning Tyrod if he's fit. I think it was the GM, Woody Johnson, GM, came out, pretty much said, without saying, that that Fields probably won't be playing again for them. It's just a matter of if they can't come out and say it, because if his knee's no good, they can't then turn to Fields, and they'd rather start Fields than whoever their third guy is. So I think it's going to be Tyrod, which I actually like a lot for his brother Mason. I don't think they're related, maybe not. But yeah, Mason Taylor gets a bump if Tyrod's there because he actually can throw the ball a bit more and their offense just flows a bit better. But we'll get to that later on. I think Tyrod starts.
Yeah, and in turn, Garrett Wilson did not practice. Could be looking at another missed game there. Just seeing. Yep. So again, it's going to be a gross game. I shan't be watching the Jets one. And for the Commanders, their wide receiver pairing in Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, both are trending to practice this week. So again, one to monitor. And up against the Chiefs, I mean, with Mariota, I don't know. I think I'll just be letting them sit out for another week and getting healthy, honestly. But that's really it for our injuries. Again, there is still a couple more days of practice before we get into the game. So make sure you are staying in tuned with those alerts. Our WhatsApp community is the best place to see it. We're all over it as soon as an injury comes out, straight in our injury updates section there on the WhatsApp. And best way to join that, Patreon link below, either free or paid. Once you sign up, you will get a welcome email, and then we'll have a link to our WhatsApp community where you can jump in and join a very, very active community, which is absolutely great to see. That is injuries. Now, Secko, starts of the week for week 8. We'll dive straight into it. And I'm just going to handball it to you. Good. You can kick things off with your quarterback start of the week.
All right, this is one I'm going to probably piss a bunch of people in the community off a little bit here. My start of the week is a confidence play on one Caleb Williams. Now, stick with me. Last week was just one of those weeks. I know he was terrible. I know he was brought into some SuperCoach teams. I know he was started by a bunch of people in fantasy. Just a game script. The weather was something that we didn't know about midweek. Came out sort of on the weekend. It was going to be gale force winds and just pretty gross. And they went strongly to DeAndre Swift and Mononga on the ground. This week's different. They're against the Ravens. The Ravens D is getting fitter. Yes, they're off the bye, which is great. They're getting there. They're still not a good D. They're still one of the worst. They've been bad all year when they had Roquan and Awuzie and whatever his name is in there. So they're going to be definitely susceptible to Caleb. But the good thing is Lamar's looking like he's trying to be back. So he's going to score. They're going to have to score. I'm not going to be able to have to run it, 25 times with their running backs or 30 times their running backs. They're going to have to throw it. He's going to throw. It's going to be a lot of roam, I suspect. But also, if DJ gets up, it's him. Luther Burden, watch him. Just watch him, and Zacchaeus, the little pest there as well. And there's going to be plenty of throwing. Caleb, I've got a lot of confidence in. If you've got him, back him in, start him.
Yeah, I love it. And I think Secko, I think it was just a week early last week with Caleb. That weather, hard to predict. And like the Saints, they just couldn't get the ball moving. So Bears just needed to run the ball. But in this game, I hope Lamar does play because there's going to be so many points in this one if he does. And Caleb definitely should eat. Love that play. Hopefully it pays off this week. My quarterback start of the week, Jordan Love up against the Steelers. I like the little narrative of Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. I think they're both going to have a big game here for them. And the Steelers, to kind of look at the side of their defense, they've only really been able to stop the run. We saw what Joe Flacco and the lads did to them last week. They put up 33 points, absolutely carved them through the air. They're also susceptible to the tight end, and Tucker Kraft, number one target there. I think Jordan Love, National Tight End Day again. I'll absolutely hammer on it. I think he's also a touchdown guarantee. A little last snippet of the two bets I'll be putting on this week. But I just really like Jordan Love to bounce back. Christian Watson, if he does return as well, they need more wide receiver help, and he could be a nice big juicy play away for a touchdown as well to pad up Jordan Love. And the Steelers at the moment are allowing the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So again, I don't like to fade Josh Jacobs with how good he is, but I think they will be able to stop him to some extent, and hopefully in turn Jordan Love can perform because he's been pretty lackluster the first few weeks, but I'm liking a bounce back before we get into it.
Yeah, love that. That's a good shout.
And running back for you, Secko.
Yeah, I'm going to go a guy who's had a couple of so-so performances of late. He's due for something, and he actually gets a guy back. So on face value, it looks like it's not necessarily the strongest start, but it's Jordan Mason with Aaron Jones slated to be back. The thing is that Xavier Scott is probably got injured. He's probably out. Aaron Jones is obviously a lot better, but he sort of slots back into that same role. And him being first back off IR, I feel like he might take a bit of a back seat, being obviously the Thursday night game as well. Chargers are top 10 against for fantasy points against running backs. What they are the last 3 games, they've given up at least 26 half PPR points per game to running backs. So Ja'Cory had 23 or 20, he had 26. Devon Achane had 29, and JT just had 33, a lazy 33 with his 3 touchdowns last week. They've given up 7 touchdowns those last 3 games to running backs as well on the ground, not even including the passing game. So I just think Jordan Mason, it's going to be one of those games. Obviously, Carson Wentz is there. He moves the ball well enough, but they need to lean on the run. And the Chargers have shown they're very susceptible to some leakage in yards and touchdowns. So, I'm not going to give a guarantee, but I expect Mason to score early probably as well, and just pad up his numbers late. So if you've got him starting with confidence as a high end running back 2.
Yeah, I like this one. To Secko, the Chargers have been pretty good against wideouts lately, especially compared to against the run. So yeah, Jordan Mason shouldering that workload. Not too worried about Aaron Jones either, even if he does start. He's coming off an injury. They'll probably need to work him in. A nice little sneaky one in there. My running back start of the week is Alvin Kamara, and this is in turn with the Kendre Miller news out for the season. Kendre he hasn't been doing too much work taking away from Kamara, but still there has been some decent amount of carries going his way. I'm not worried about the Devin Neal narrative. I know Kellen Moore, head coach, has come out and said that he will be in line for a more significant role, but the first 7 weeks, he hasn't been able to beat out Kendre Miller, so I don't think in turn he'll even be able to compete with Kamara. Kamara is up against the Buccaneers this week, and if Chris Olave does miss at all or is playing a little bit limited, I think he should see some more receptions his way. The Buccaneers are allowing the 4th most receptions to running backs and the 7th most fantasy points allowed to running backs as well. So I do like this spot. Tampa have been decent against stopping the run, but Kamara, he makes his pudding through the receiving game, and hopefully he has probably his best game of the year. He's been pretty lackluster. His best game of the year was 13 points in week 2, but I think he can top that this week with some more volume there for the Saints, because I really don't have much more else besides him.
Yeah, 100%.
Wide receivers, Secko.
All right. So originally I had Chris Olave on the slate for my start of the week, but he's picked up an injury. He's limited or DMP today. So best to pivot, in the chance he doesn't play. I'm going to go to T. Higgins. 2 games with Joe Flacco, he's had 11 catches, 158 yards, and a score. He's had 18 targets. So obviously not Jamar Chase level targets, but he's definitely making his own. And that's the thing. Joe Flacco is going to throw it 40 plus times, close to 50 majority of times as well. So they're playing against the Jets. They may not have to throw it that many times, but I still think he does. It's just a better game plan than giving it to Chase Brown. And there's no tight end. Noah Fant and Gesicki, if he's fit, don't even know if he is. They're not threats. There's no third. I mean, Yosevas had a couple of catches. There's no one else. It's literally a 2-man offense. And if Sauce Gardner's playing, I think he was a bit banged up last week. But if he's playing, Chase is good enough to beat him. Don't get me wrong. Jamar Chase is a great start as well. But there will be that little bit of chance that Zach Taylor goes, let's just let him blanket him a bit more, and we'll go with T, who's by far the best, second best receiver in the league in terms of beating man. So I can just see them having equal amount of targets and T catching them all and T breaking a long one and ending up with that 160 and 1 on 8 catches kind of day that you just go like, how good is this? So start T. I think he's in for a good day.
Love it. Up against, I think it's Brandon Stevens, the second corner for the Jets. And he's just been, him compared to Sauce Gardner is just like, they're a different planet. So, absolutely love that call there. For me, this was in my eye just stuck out like a sore thumb, targeting that Cowboys horrible defense is Cortland Sutton for the Denver Broncos, my wide receiver start of the week. The Cowboys are allowing 40 points a game to opposing wide receivers and 12 receiving touchdowns in this season so far to opposing wide receivers. So yeah, they're giving up a whole heap. Bo Nix went ballistic last week. I don't think it will go as good, but I mean, there's going to be so many points in this game at home too. I think Cortland Sutton will just absolutely feast against the Cowboys here. And I just think, the matchup's too good. Don't overthink it. Cortland Sutton is going to be a massive play this week against the Cowboys. Tight ends, Secko.
My tight end start of the week is Harold Fannin. This is with the thought that Njoku might miss. Even if he doesn't, he's still a very strong play. But with Njoku trending towards being probably closer to doubtful than likely, Fannon's actually Gabriel's deepest ADOT, which is average depth of target receiver in the last month. Which is saying a lot because he's a tight end. That's how bad Gabriel's at throwing the ball long. But that doesn't matter. It's all you need. If you're in any sort of PPR format, I can see Fannin having the game like he had a couple of weeks ago. I think he had 8 for 78 or something like that. He's had 2 touchdowns in the last month as well since Gabriel's been in. The Browns tight ends in general have been really good. It's been Njoku one time, and it's been both of them one time, and it's been Fannin twice. If Njoku's out, I think Fannin he's a guy in bye weeks especially. You can start him pretty confidently as a tight end, tight end one. If you sort of disregard, they've been great in general all year. The Cleveland tight ends as a collective. Obviously last week you can't take anything from the Miami game because of the weather and Judkins just running away with it and Tua pretty much handing the game away. But every other game, Fannon's been good, or Njoku's been good. If he's out, strong start, high catches, probably decent yards, and tight ends day could be a score as well.
Love tight ends day and Judy also with that injury as well popping up. I mean, it's just could be the last guy there. For me, I've got Dalton Kincaid against the Panthers. Of course, it is contingent if he does play. It is trending towards that way. But the Panthers, they're the 6th worst defense up against opposing tight ends. Dalton Kincaid, again, he makes such an impact for this Bills offense. I think he is their number 1 target, or Josh Allen's number 1 target there. They need him badly after losing a couple of games before they went on the bye. If Dalton Kincaid doesn't play, and I think I'm probably going to die on this hill this week, Colston Loveland for the Chicago Bears. I've hit him on the waiver show. I've hit him in our buy low show. I'll hit him as a start of the week as well. Yeah, and in turn with your Caleb Williams. So yeah, I do pray that Lamar starts because I picked up Loveland in pretty much every league that I could before this week. And with that Komet news, it's just going to line up perfectly there. So Dalton Kincaid if he starts, Colston Loveland if he doesn't there. But hey, if Loveland performs, I'm going to claim that one just as well. Defenses. Secko, who have you got?
Yeah, defense this week is the Atlanta Falcons, taking the free square, playing Miami. Might be Tua, could be Zach Wilson, might even be Quinn Ewers. I think either way, you're getting a layup, a layup matchup. Atlanta's been pretty good against offenses as well. They kept Josh Allen, very well in check 2 weeks ago. They weren't as good last week, but it was against obviously San Francisco, who they CMC'd their way to a win. Kept Mac Jones to bugger all. They did play the 49ers, didn't they? Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yep.
Kept Mac Jones to touchdownless. They're only beaten by arguably the best overall player in the league, definitely the best running back in the league, in my opinion. So Achan's good, but he's not good enough to do that to them. They've also had 6 interceptions last 5 weeks. That's good for DSTs because you're a chance of getting a pick 6 out of that, and 2 is a turnover merchant. So I could definitely see a couple of picks here, maybe one for 6, and the DST scores double digits comfortably. So also only giving up 18 points per game over the last 5 weeks. So good D. If you've got them, start them. Obviously, they might be on your waiver wire. Have a look because nobody thinks the Falcons are any good. So they may still be out there with a bit of luck.
And I think after this one, I think Mike McDaniel's, the head coach, will be gone for the Dolphins. They're just imploding inside out. No, love the Falcons, and at home, even better. For me, targeting the rookie quarterback, I'm taking the Colts up against Cam Ward and the Titans. The last time these guys faced in week 4, the Colts won 41-20. So Cam Ward did put up some points. This was at Tennessee. I expect it to be a bit of a different affair now in Indianapolis in the Thunderdome. Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley, looking like he won't play with that hamstring, so he's got one weapon less. And of course, that they've got interim head coach Mike McCoy. He did look better last week, but I think up against the Colts, it's just going to be night and day, and JT will just eat up the clock and just score multiple touchdowns in this one. And in turn, Cam Ward won't be able to do too much. Hopefully a couple of turnovers and some sacks, I think, for sure, with the Colts against the Titans. They are our starts of the week for week 8. Secko, we'll come back here this time next week and see how we've done for that. With that out of the way, we will jump into our game preview for week 8.
Let's preview the games for the week ahead. It's time for game talk.
Before we get in, touched on at the start of the show, 6 teams on bye: Seahawks, Rams, Jags, Raiders. And for some reason, I've only got 5 names on this list. Trying to think who that remaining name is.
I'm pretty good with this stuff, but I can't think who the other team is. Cardinals. It's Cardinals.
Cardinals, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you for that. So again, not too many games to cover, but we still have some nice juicy ones coming up. First game to kick it off tomorrow morning for us here in Australia, the Thursday night game. Vikings heading to LA in a dome, taking on the Chargers. Chargers 3.5-point favorites in this. A little bit surprising, probably due to Carson Wentz. He was pretty stinky last week against the Eagles, but it's a nice total, 44.5. I mean, clear starts this week, Secko. It's pretty easy off the bat. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, he's been good. Jordan Mason in turn, for sure. Chargers side of the ball, Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen. With those in turn, Oronde Gadsden, are you looking to try and throw him in there, or is that too many pieces on the Chargers side of the ball?
Well, look, if you got Gadsden this week, if you've got him off waivers, you probably spend a little bit of money, a little bit of fab to get him. Probably with an idea to, I mean, I would say if you've got any of the top 5 tight ends, you wouldn't go there. But if you got anyone down from, I know he's your start of the week and my start of the week, Kincaid and Fannin, anyone in that sort of ballpark, if you got Gadsden, I mean, have a crack, why not? He showed last week and the week before. It wasn't just a 1-week wonder either. He's capable and capable of doing things that sort of usually are above a tight end's sort of pay grade, and that's what can put him into that sort of that next stratosphere. So my biggest concern is how there's no way all 4 of those guys you mentioned can be supported. So someone's gonna have to make way. Last week it was QJ scored. QJ scored, but only had 2 for 30. Lad had 9 for 67, which obviously for PPR passes him, and Keenan Allen had 11 for 119 and 1. So look, Herbert's not going to throw 420 and 3 every week. He sort of had 2 catching up. This game might be a bit more, a bit tighter. But yeah, I'm worried about who to start if I have them. I'll probably rank them QJ, Keenan, Lad, which sounds gross. I love my Lad, but I just think touchdown upside goes towards QJ, and Keenan just looks better until he runs out of gas. I'm going to back him in. But then probably Gadsden's last. But he's a tight end, so he's startable because he might get 6 for 60, which is good enough these days. So,
and then I have to mention Kamani Vidal with the Hassan Haskins news. You definitely slot him in there, no question. If you have him, because you're probably struggling at running back if you did have to pick him up there. So slot it in. TJ Hawkinson, Secko, is he one that you're looking to start? He's been pretty average, or you're comfortable to sit him on the pine this week?
I'm comfortable to sit him. It's weird because last week he had that touchdown which wasn't paid, was overturned. You'd think probably a little bit differently, but it's not just 1 week with him. He's been pretty gross the entire time. He hasn't really done I don't know, I never think of him so he's never come up on any of these any of the shows we've done, any of the reviews we've done. You don't ever come out in the trade out shows early in the season. So sort of showing where he's at. He's just sort of just going through the motions a bit. I don't think he's had more than 50 yards, maybe all year. That sounds wrong, but
Yeah,
he had
probably
6 for
not,
43
honestly.
last week. Yeah, if a touchdown counts, it would have been 50, and it would have been 50 and a touchdown, or over 50 and a touchdown. But yeah, he hasn't had more than 50 all year. Even against Cincinnati, he had 5 for 49 and a touchdown. I think you or I could have a touchdown against the Bengals in the tight end slot, Mel. So, it's just he's just a bit gross. If you're happy with 7, full PPR points, then chuck him in, I suppose. But aim a bit higher, I suppose. Is what I'm trying to say.
And of course, you're starting Herbert at home with all those weapons. That's all pretty clear. There. Moving on to the next game, the start of the early Monday morning slate here. The Bills heading to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Bills are a touchdown favorite and 46 total points implied total. Andy Dalton looking to start this week. Bills coming off the bye after losing 2 in a row. I think they come out and absolutely punish the Panthers. I think they could have their first round cornerback pick in Maxwell Hairston back too, playing his first game of the year. Hoping so. I don't think he'll be able to slow down Tet too much, but even still, I think the Bills could just absolutely smash it. James Cook could be in for a big day. So in terms of looking at clear starts, Josh Allen, don't need to question it. James Cook as well. Wide receivers, Secko, we did touch on it again. Dalton Kincaid, if he is there, you start him. But you were liking Khalil Shakir, you said, so you'd start him as well. But Keon Coleman, how are you feeling about him up against the Panthers?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, as I said, it's bye weeks. There's a lot of good receivers on bye. If you just to top of my head, Puka, Devontae, at Amon-Ra, I would say J-Mo, but he's not good anymore. JSN, Harrison, there's enough guys there that you'd be starting. So you might need to start guys like Keon Coleman. The good thing is for him, Josh Palm looks like he's training to be out. So you've got potentially a number 3 or 2 or 3 target for Josh Allen in what looks like it could be a matchup where he has to throw it sort of 30 plus times. That's not a bad thing. He sucks as a player, but all he has to do is just get on the end of one decent one and make it worthwhile, and get on one in the painted area, and it's very much worth its while. So I think he's a guy you can just sort of throw a dart at. If you're tossing up between him and someone safer like, Rashid Shaheed's a bad example because Olave might be out, but someone like that who's sort of like, your big play or bust kind of guy. This guy is essentially that, but opportunity. So I'm happy with Coleman if you've got him, and there's you got a bunch of sort of wide receiver 3-4 guys having a crack on Coleman.
And then on the Panthers side, Andy Dalton, I think if you were without Bryce Young, I know for me, I had Bryce Young in a couple of spots. I'm happy to play Dalton. I think they'll be behind a lot in this game, and in turn, we'll have to throw the ball a whole heap. Ted McMillan, you have to play him. Xavier Legette, he was getting a lot of work when Dalton came in. I'm not too sure how you're feeling on Legette there, Secko, but I mean, surely you don't. He isn't in question. Surely you have other options there available. Yeah. The main question for the Panthers, the running back situation, it was fairly split. Last week, they both looked pretty good, and Bills have been pretty soft against the run as well. So how are you feeling between Chuba and Rico? Is there one way that you'd prefer to go if you had to choose?
Yeah, I pick Rico. Pretty comfortably. Literally the only narrative that's making it even feasible that Chuba gets game time is that he was made honorary captain 1 week, and the people in the locker room loves him because everything on field just screams that Rico looks way better, and he wasn't injured either. So, I think going with the fit guy over the guy who's come back from injury is probably better. But just if Canellis is worried about his job, he probably would just go for Rico to have a better running game. He just has been better in every facet of the run game, including blocking. I lean him. I wouldn't be surprised if Chuba gets his 35%, for the rest of the year, and he definitely will get involved. But Rico's a guy who can get that 80 to 100 every week, based on his ability and volume.
Yeah, he's just looked better too. 4.6 a carry last week compared to Chuba's 2.2. Rico's definitely got more juice in that one for sure. That's the Bills and Panthers.
There is
Moving
one
on.
more. There is one more I want to bring up. Jalen Coker is back. He played last week. He had, I think, 3 targets, no catches. That was the sort of Bryce, and then Dalton came in and only threw to Leggett. The game plan was a little bit a bit wonky there. I've got a bit of a soft spot for this guy. I think he's a super stud player. That's why I'm not so hot and bothered about Leggett, and why I probably wouldn't have him in my team, because Coker is just going to potentially be the guy across from McMillan to be viable. If Dalton has a little, Joe Flacco, revival type thing for them over the next couple of weeks while Bryce is out, it could very well be Coker that you're picking up next week. So if you've got a spare bench spot, if you move someone to IR, free up a spot, you can do a lot worse than just chuck Coker and watch it. If he's dust again, you can make the move to someone playing in a later slate. But yeah, just do yourself a favour, spare bench spot, pick up Jalen Coker.
And 16% rostered, so readily available in a lot of leagues out there.
Yep.
Nice little sneaky call. Moving on, the Bears at the Ravens. Ravens are 6.5 point favorites at home, 49 point total. So again, I think the books are thinking that Lamar does play, and I think if Lamar does play, you pretty much start everybody. Probably the only one that you're looking to question. I mean, for the Ravens, of course, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, Lamar, the tight ends. Secko, you're probably leaning more towards likely if you had to choose between those two.
I wouldn't want to choose either. Yeah, I wouldn't want to choose.
And then in terms of the Bears, Robert Dunze, for sure. I was even looking at him as a nice little start of the week. I think you were talking about that as well.
Same. Yep.
DeAndre Swift, if he plays, you start him. He's been good. Colston Loveland, if Komet doesn't play, definitely start him. It's really only a DJ Moore and maybe even Cole Monongai. If Swift does play, is there a world where you want to play Monongai as well? He looked okay last week, but it just seems like there's going to be so many points in this game, and they could be behind against the Ravens with a healthy Lamar.
Yeah, it's tough. He doesn't profile as the passing downs back either. In a match that they're down by multiple scores, so that makes it even harder to see him being viable. I've got him in a couple of dynasty spots. He's actually on like taxi squads and stuff. So I'm tossing out whether to activate him and put him in over. Who have I got? I've got Tyjae Spears in ahead of him, which I think is a fine play rather than activating him off the taxi to drop someone. But I don't know. There's every chance. It's just if Swift's out, 100%, I'm doing it. If Swift's in, I think I'm just going to leave it. And there's not much upside for him. It's not like last week where they could just run, and that was the entire game plan. It's going to be a lot of passing. We've already said that it starts the week, and you can start all your receivers with a little bit of confidence. Even Burden is a dart throw, especially if Moore's out. I think Burden's actually a good start. And you said Loveland, perfect. I think it's time to fire him up. Unless you've got one of those top 4 or 5 guys, it's pretty much a blanket the next 8, 10 tight ends. We've been pretty lucky with some good tight ends this year, and I think Loveland is. Maybe you want to watch it, but I'm with you, Mal. I trust. I think this is the week. If ever there's a week, this is the week that Loveland gets an explosion against the Ravens.
On National Tight End Day as well. I'm just going to keep saying that. hopefully I'm speaking that into fruition. Moving on, a bit of a stinky game here. We don't need to spend too much time on. The Cleveland Browns heading to New England to take on the Patriots. Patriots and Drake May are a full touchdown favorite, 40.5 total points. From the Pats, pretty simple. Drake May, have to start him. Stephon Diggs, I think even Kayshon Boutte, might even be able to start him there. Ramondre Stevenson, as gross as it is, he's getting all the work. Trey Henderson, he's just buried at this point. Could even be their third running back there on the depth chart. So again, purely just based on volume and based on, I think, Patriots leading a lot of the way, they'll probably lean on Stevenson more so. For the Browns, Secko, we've got Gabriel. Again, hopefully you don't have to start him, but Jerry Jeudy, questionable there. How are you feeling about the Browns here? I mean, Judkins and Fannin is probably the only 2 worth starting, but is there any other names that you're thinking on this?
Yep. No, probably not. Fannon's obviously started the week, so he's in. Look, Judkins, So I'm actually thinking about bringing Judkins into SuperCoach. So call me crazy there, but he's just so good. He's the kind of guy who can buck the trend a bit. Running backs haven't been great against the Pats this year. They're sort of going at that sort of just over three, like the low fours per carry, high threes per carry the last few weeks. So every chance that Judkins just doesn't really get that. Get that sustained success. Even last week against a very, very poor run defense, they he had him for I think it was 3.8 per carry, but he had 3 touchdowns, so it looked amazing. Having said that, I think he's just by far their best player, and you can't sit him if you've got him unless you've got two really strong players ahead of him. But yeah, Browns receiver wise, I just can't see if Judy's out, especially. Who have you got? Isaiah Bond. Who else is even there? I don't even know. That's the problem. I don't know these guys.
Yeah. Tillman's still on IR as well. He's still gone. So it's going to be gross. Judkins and Fannin, for sure.
Yeah, Judkins, Fannin. You're not starting anyone else, especially Gabriel. But you got Thrash, Corley, Whiteheart, Loverdane. That's their names. I'm not making them up. That's actually their names. So I've never heard of those guys. Literally.
Moving on to the next game. Dolphins taking on the Falcons in Atlanta. Falcons are 7.5-point favorites at home. They've been much better at home compared to away splits this year. 44.5 total points. Starting off with the Dolphins, Tua, you are very brave if you start him. I think he's a must-sit. He looks horrid. The only really two worst starting the Dolphins is Achane, of course. He'll see everything. Jalen Waddle, he is healthy, and without Waller, he's going to be the main guy. Any interest in Malik Washington this week, Secko?
No, not particularly. The Falcons secondary has been pretty good. They kept, it was only Jawan and Bourne and Demarcus Robinson last week, but they kept them really quiet. That's good breakups. They're pretty good at just breaking up the plays. Not necessarily, and then, as I said, they get interceptions as well. They're good at getting there. They cover the ground really well, and they make it really hard. And their sort of defensive front is pretty good at pressuring. So Tua's going to be on the move a lot. It's going to be pretty gross. Of course, Malik Washington can say his name, Malik.
Yeah, Malik. Yeah,
Malachi, Malik. No. Sure, he can have a big play. He can have a couple of big plays. He can have a touchdown. Of course, it can happen. I wouldn't trust in it.
And then the Falcons side of the ball, pretty easy. Michael Penix against the Dolphins. Sure, he's been a lot better at home. In turn, Bijan. Is it Bijan? Wasn't there like a change midway?
That's what it was. Back to what it was. Yeah, he pretty much said my grandma calls me Bijan, but you can just call me Bijan. I don't care.
Bijan, okay. I'll try and stick with that. I know I've been butchering it the last couple of weeks, but anyhow, Bijan, Penix, Drake London, of course. I think Kyle Pitts as well, and I'm not just saying that because I am obligated to. But exactly, tight ends day, and against the Dolphins, they've been horrid against tight ends there too. So
it's
I know
it's true.
They could spread a little bit of love. I also think Algier could be a sneaky little spot start if you need to. It hurts to say with Bijan there, but I think they're just going to dominate the Dolphins, and in turn, Algier will get a couple of carries back in, probably fall in the end zone as well, which we'll absolutely hate to see there. But all pretty easy in that game, Secko. Giants-Eagles, we'll move straight on to that. It is in Philadelphia. The Giants got the win in their first matchup this week. The Eagles are 7.5-point favorites, 44 total points. Jalen Hurts in the passing game started to unlock last week against the Vikings. AJ Brown, all it takes is a couple of big plays for him. I think it was a 4th and 4, and they threw one deep to him for a touchdown. And that's what AJ Brown can do. Why haven't they been doing that? Why has it taken this long for them to get him more involved? Devonta Smith, I think you can start him. He's been pretty okay against the Giants. Saquon Barkley, again, against the Giants' former team, he was pretty poor when they played it in New York the first game. But how are you feeling about Saquon? I know, of course, if you have him, you have to start him. But do you think this is a bounce-back spot, or do you think it's more of the receivers in this one?
How do you possibly start him? I'm very, very, very fortunate. I haven't got any. I was probably the strongest anti-Saquon person on the year, especially in this community that I know of. But just in general, I was running away from him. I think I had him as running back 11 at the start of the season, and I felt buoyant into having him that high. I just felt like a massive drop off was coming. Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think if you've got him, you have to start him. And that's the problem, is that you're sort of expecting a lot more than you're getting almost every week. And I think he's only had one game. He had one good game against Kansas City, which is the biggest shock of all because they're great. But that's his only game over 58 yards rushing. He's not doing much in the receiving game either, except for one game where he had 58 and a touchdown. That was against Denver. So against good defenses, he seems to be turning up, which is strange. But yeah, it's a real tough one. He's only scored 3 rushing touchdowns. Hasn't scored a rushing touchdown for 3 weeks. Hasn't scored a touchdown in the last 2. Hard to trust, but again, you probably can't bench him, and you just have to ride with it.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to roll it with there, Saquon. And for the Giants side of the ball, the first game, the Eagles were without Jalen Carter, which made a massive impact. He is back in for this game. I'm not too sure if Quinyon Mitchell, their starting corner for the Eagles, if he's in. Looks like he's still dealing with that hamstring injury, so he might miss. But for the Giants, you have to start Jackson Dart. You know, even if it's up against a supposedly tough defense, he can cut you to pieces with his legs. He's been very dominant, even with lackluster receivers. Cam Scatterbo, you're crazy to not start him. He just gets so much done. Any receivers here, Secko? I saw Darius Slayton. He might return, but it's like Wan'Dale Robinson. Jalen Hyatt has been getting very limited looks. But, I mean, I think it's just Cam Scatterbo and Dart for this one on the Giants side of the ball that you're starting.
It's a good call. Look, Wandale's had 6 catches in 95 and 6 catches in 84 and a touchdown the last 2. So you can do a lot worse than picking up Wan'Dale Robinson, given that since Slayton's been out, that's pretty elite. Some pretty elite scoring. I wouldn't love it. I wouldn't be rushing to try and get him. I wouldn't be trading for him. Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger against Denver had a combined 154 and 2. That's pretty massive on 3 catches each. So they both had some monsters. I think they probably can't both do it again, but one can. Theo Johnson's probably the better pick. Bellinger he had one really big catch, and then he had two sort of moderate ones. But yeah, Theo Johnson's an option. But I don't know. You said Dart you have to start him. I agree, but geez, this is the kind of game where the entire bottom falls out. Jalen Carter makes a big difference. They're in Philly this time. He gets a little bit too arrogant, and they just absolutely embarrass him. But I hope not, because I'm a big Dart guy. I've got him in a few spots. I don't have to start him, fortunately, this week. But actually, I do in one of the Superflex leagues. But I just feel like I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, they could be out for revenge too after losing to them in a pretty big way when they met earlier in the year. So could be the call. Moving on, Jets and the Bengals. Bengals 6.5-point favorites at home, 44.5 total points. Again for the Bengals, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Flacco. I think Jets have been poor. You start him in turn. Chase Brown, Secko. He probably had his most efficient game of the year last week. How do you feel him against the Jets?
Yeah, look, they should be up. You feel like Flacco's going to throw a lot, but realistically, I think the Bengals should do enough at home, especially with Tyrod against Tyrod. So obviously, just to do enough to be in France. They should have plenty of opportunities. They're not too hard to run on either. So yeah, I think if you've got Chase Brown again bye week, you're probably going to be starting him. It's an interesting one with the trade situation at the moment. I feel like at the moment, if you're sort of one running back short, this might be the last time you can get Chase Brown real cheap in a trade. So something to think about over the next couple of days is what you can do to try and wrestle. Again, do it cheap, don't pay up, but you might be able to get rid of a couple of decent bits for Chase Brown and someone else, because I think this is a chance that he has a decent game this week against the Jets.
Yeah, and with Chase Brown, the last 5 games of the year, it's a pretty soft schedule against the run. Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore again, Miami in week 16, and then Arizona there as well. So, yeah, it's a nice favorable schedule leading out. And on the Jets side of the ball, Breece Hall, he was limited in practice, but if he starts, he's a must play here. He's going to be their offense. Garrett Wilson looking like he won't play in this one. So I think it's just Breece Hall and Mason Taylor, Secko, or do you have a sneaky name for a wide receiver on the jet side of the ball, or you want to limit how many players you're starting on that team?
It's a bit like Cleveland. I can't name one. With Wilson out, I think Josh Reynolds actually is even out. So I wouldn't even know who the next man up is. You're literally starting Mason Taylor because of that. And hopefully Tyrod can find him a bunch of times, like we've seen a bunch of backup quarterbacks do this year, come in and actually be serviceable over the guy they replaced.
And moving on to the next one, 49ers and the Texans, 49ers heading to Houston. Texans are favorites. Again, very surprising, like we were talking about earlier, Secko. Low total, 41.5 total points. For the Niners, I think, hopefully Purdy does play. I think if he gets a start, that line will probably flip. But for the Texans, the running backs, Woody Marks and Nick Chubb, they have not been efficient whatsoever. The Texans offense has been absolutely horrid. I think it's really only Dalton Schultz that you probably have confidence in starting in this one. The 49ers are pretty leaky against tight ends with Fred Warner out. Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins, if you had to pick in this one, Secko?
Jalen Noel showed a lot more, or a bit more, last week, and he profiles more as a slot guy. So with Christian, I mean, I know Nico's probably going to be out, but I think it's a lot easier for a rookie out of the slot to have an impact, especially with the way Stroud is looking and playing at the minute. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably lean towards Noel as the guy. I'm just trying to sort of find out what he had last week, because I know he had a few catches and it's not loading.
It was like 4 for 77, I think it was, off the...
4 for 77, 7 targets. Higgins had three targets and no catches. So, I think he looked good when we had the ball sort of his way. He looked really good. So I think you can start him in a pinch. Again, Higgins might be the guy who, filling in, if Nico misses, he might be the guy who's goes big. And but you can't predict that. You can't start him. You can pick him up and have him on the bench, ready to drop him when he has another catchless day if he does. But you can start Noah on a pinch.
And CJ Stroud, Secko, it is a tough start, especially with that Nico and Kirk there. But let's say Spencer Rattler or CJ Stroud this week. Which way would you go? Rattler's got the Bucks at home.
Gross. Stroud. I can't endorse Rattler. I mean, he's been good. He's been so much better. He's going to be the worst player that's actually outperformed the expectations in the history of the league, which is saying a lot, obviously. But I can't endorse to start Rattler. But having said that, there's every chance Rattler outscores Stroud because he's got no weapons.
Yeah, it's a gross question to throw at you. On the 49er side of the ball, of course, it is dependent on Brock Purdy, but I mean, Mac Jones has been great anyhow, so you can slot him straight in. George Kittle, he pretty much had a DNP last week because he was purely just blocking, getting his feet under himself after missing all that time. So again, National Tight Ends Day, if he doesn't have a touchdown, I'll be floored. He's the leader, the commissioner of the tight end community there within the NFL. So I think, he'll show out for the holiday. CMC must start every single week. Doesn't matter the matchup. Doesn't matter if he's carrying a little injury or not. He's a must start. The wide receivers, Secko, we've got Ricky Pearsall. He's probably not going to play. Juwan Jennings, he probably saw a bit more work last week compared to Kendrick Bourne, but are you starting any of those guys? If you have to, the Texans on the other end have been pretty good as a defensive front there.
Yeah, they have. It's more of a concern. It looks like Purdy's actually trending to not play. I just read then, so that it sucks because I've got him. I need him to start. I don't want to start Mac Jones again in replacement of him because it was a hard watch last week. But I don't want to start Jennings. He had 4 for 31 last week. Bourne had 2 for 14. The magic dust has worn off Bourne. Robinson, nothing. Who else? Did you say someone else? Like Sky Moore got a catch, but it's CMC. It's going to be Kittle. He went catchless. He's going to be the only thing that potentially makes Mac Jones, if he's in relief, even somewhat viable, is that Kittle's going to have a big day. So yeah, I think you can definitely start him and McCaffrey. I wouldn't bother with anyone else. It's just a bit of pot luck at the moment, unfortunately.
And then moving on to the later Monday morning slate, the Bucks heading to New Orleans to take on the Saints in a divisional game. Bucks are 4.5 or 4-point favorites, 47 total points for the Bucks side of the ball. Bucky, Mike, Godwin, all out. The starts, you're starting Baker, divisional game against the Saints. And Emeka Egbuka, very surprising play last week. If he played last week, you'd think he's a sure thing to play again this week, and he's going to be their main guy. Absolute smash. Kate Otten, he's going to be the second target in this offense. You start him. And I think Tez Johnson as well, Secko. He's had a couple of good weeks in a row. I think he's got a nice little connection with Baker, probably because of that MVP chant confusion that happened the other week. Tez Johnson thought they were calling it for him. And yeah, I think Sterling Shepard's just like, oh no, they're calling it for Baker, dude. You need to just take a bit of a look there. So and Rashad White, of course, he's a start no matter what with Bucky out. On that Saints side of the ball, though, Spencer Rattler, gross. It is going to be gross, but again, if you're caught in a pinch, you could do a lot worse. Juwan Johnson, he's been dealing with an injury. I don't think you probably start him just with Taysom Hill there. It's been pretty hit or miss, but I mean, there's Alvin Kamara, Rashid Shaheed, if Chris Olave doesn't play, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, like Rashid Shaheed's a play only because Spencer Rattler's shown that he can actually let the ball go a bit, and he can find guys. So he's found Olave deep a few times. You know, we mentioned it yesterday, I think, in passing. It's going to be a Taysom Hill game. Let's just be honest here. Well overdue. If Taysom's in, I'm not sure if he's injured again or not, but if he's in, I just get the feeling it's going to be a Mason game, Taysom game, which no one likes to watch. So I won't be watching this game.
Neither. But the next game I will be watching for sure. The Cowboys heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. Broncos are 3.5-point favorites. Biggest total of the week, this one, which we love to see for fantasy production, 50.5 total points. Don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this one, Secko. You're starting everybody on the Cowboys. Dak, Javonte, revenge game against the Broncos.
No.
CD, George Pickens, Jake Ferg. I think, the Broncos, the defense, it's looked, with how stacked they are, they have been a little bit hit or miss. They can look like absolute lights out defense one week, and then the other, they can let Jackson Dart just walk all over the park with them, with the lack of weapons that they've had. So pretty easy on the Cowboys. Broncos side of the ball, Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix, that's easy. J.K. Dobbins, no doubt. Tight end Evan Ingram, again, National Tight End Day. I think he's a second target in that offense. The Marvin Mims and the Troy Franklin kind of duo, I don't think they're worth too much. Would you start any of those two in this this high total projected game?
It's one of those weeks where you would be crazy to start anyone. It's got that. It's similar to the Giants game last week. Like, it could easily be 33 to 30. Was it 33, 32? I think it was somewhere along those lines. It could easily be in that sort of realm again, and none of us would be surprised, because we've seen. I mean, the Cowboys gave up 30 points to the Panthers. They gave up 30 points to pretty much everyone. They gave up 22 last week, but Daniels was out for over half the game. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is a bona fide shootout. Also, wouldn't surprise me if Dak has his first bad game in a long time, because the Broncos can turn it on. They can get hot, when it matters. So. This is going to be a fun one to watch. I'm glad it's in the later slate, because I'm definitely going to be awake to watch it. 6:25 your time, 7:25 mine. I'm up getting the kids are usually on the way to work. I can listen to it in my AirPods and then watch it when I get to work. Or if I work from home, I just chuck it on the computer while I'm working. So all a bit of a luxury, the latest late games, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully the defense for the Broncos takes a week off this one, because I want to see so many points. We need it all. We need it all for fantasy. Moving on, another divisional game also in the later slate here. Titans heading to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The Colts are massive 14-point favorites in this one, 47 total points. I mean, they are just going to absolutely hammer the Titans. I have absolutely no faith in the Titans. I don't think I want to start anybody. Honestly, like Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, if you're caught in a pinch, perhaps because running back to all the buys. Again, yeah, if you have other options, definitely look that way. But I mean, the passing game, absolutely not. For the Colts, JT, without a doubt. Danny Dimes, of course. Tyler Warren has been a stud. Michael Pittman Jr., no doubt. And Josh Downs, he is in line to play after missing last week. So I think Alec Pierce, if you did play him last week, you were pretty happy with the outcome, but I think he probably drops down a peg if Josh Downs comes in. Anything from you on this game, Secko?
No, the only interesting thing is who's this Dyke guy? Chimere Dyke.
Oh, Chimere Dyke, yeah.
Chimere Dyke. He popped up with 70 and a touchdown. He's had a couple of catches here and there. It's the first time he's done anything really major. I think he's more known for getting some random sort of jet sweeps and runs, but he's not something you can start, but something you can watch. There's Dan Jefferson's getting catches out here. AM Matters completely dropped off the face of the earth since Ridley went out. Yeah, it's just gross. You can't start anyone on the Titans at all, and you pretty much fire up anyone that's relevant on the Pat side because Brody's going to be all right. Diggs will be there as well, and then Hunter Henry is probably due for a bounce back. So fire up your Patriots.
The Colts, Secko on that one, but again, still applies. Still applies there.
What was that?
Moving on. Oh, you're rattling off Patriots players in the Titans-Colts game, but that's all right. It doesn't matter. The Patriots are all starts.
So
and the Colts are as well.
Oh, sorry. I meant the Colts. I meant sorry.
No. That's easy. That's easy.
No, you fire up all your Colts. All your Colts. Yeah, it's the same principle. Same principle matters
for the Pats. And the primetime game on Monday, Aaron Rodgers taking on the Packers in Pittsburgh. Packers are favourites heading to Pittsburgh, 3-point favourites, 45 total points. I think this one could be a sneaky high total of the week. I just think, both defenses are pretty good against the run. They've been a bit average against the pass, and we know that Aaron Rodgers, when they're within the 5, he'll look to pass a touchdown in this one. I think DK could have a nice big game. So really for the Steelers, Jaylen Warren, he's been really, really good, consistent. Now that he's back healthy, gets a lot of receiving work. And I think with this game, with the Micah Parsons on the other side of the ball, I think Aaron Rodgers will be trying to get the ball out quick, always looking for Jaylen Warren there. So going to be an absolute weapon in PPR leagues. DK Metcalf in turn, of course. Any tight ends for the Steelers, Secko? Because there's no real other wide receivers that you're looking to start.
The problem is all of them. Was it last week? Was the week before they had all 4 of them got a touchdown. So the hardest part is deciding which one. The answer is probably none of them. Jonnu profiles to be the one getting the opportunities more often than not, but reality, Frymouth had 2 last week. I think it was the Thursday night game. That's why it feels like forever ago. Or was it Monday night? No, it was Thursday night. Yeah,
it was Thursday night. Yeah,
and it was a primetime game. Yeah, so Darnell Washington got one. Johnny got one. It's sort of like, I think DK massive bounce back game here. Rodgers looked really good. He's been back to sort of a bit of vintage Rodgers from 2 years ago plus rather than last year's version. And so Jaylen Warren is a smash for me as well. That's probably the only 2 you're starting on the Steelers side.
And then for the Packers, Secko, the real easy ones, Josh Jacobs, even though the Steelers are pretty tough against the run, good chance he falls into the end zone and he'll be sweet. Tucker Kraft, who's National Tight Ends Day, you have to start Tucker Kraft. Don't even think about not putting him on there. Jordan Love in turn as well. He should have a big game, but the only real question is the wide receiver room. It's been a bit of a carousel to start the year. Romeo Dobbs has had some big games. Matthew Golden hasn't really been getting too much usage, but he's been trending up. Dontavian Wicks looking to miss, and then Christian Watson could have his season debut. But again, coming off that big knee injury that he sustained last year, might need to temper expectations. But Dobbs or Golden, if you had to pick Secko, do you want to start any or just none?
No, I really don't want to, but I'd probably start Dobbs. He's been pretty consistent. He's been sort of sneaky, the number one option. Golden's obviously going to get there. He's going to be okay. Because I have a bit of faith, but like Dobbs has had at least 55 and 5 each of the last 3 weeks. It's not great, but it's something you can. It's reliable. It's 10 PPR fantasy points minimum each week. But it's had between sort of 12 and 10 and 15, 10 and 14. So you don't want to start any of them, but I think if you had to start one of those two, if you own them both, I'd start Dobbs. I think Watson's going to be limited snaps. Dobbs the guy you love a lot, so do I. Then Kraft gets his, but Dobbs is the guy who gets most of the work outside of Kraft.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Dobbs' last 3 games, he's had at least 8 targets in all of them, which we love to see.
Yeah,
that
huge.
Consistency there. Moving on to the final game, the Monday night football game, or Tuesday morning here in Australia. The Commanders taking on the Chiefs. Chiefs are a whopping 12.5-point favourites at home. Totals 47 points. And Jaden Daniels for the Commanders is ruled out. So this is where I think the Chiefs, I don't think they'll shut them out. I think Mariota or someone will fall into the end zone. But it's going to be a pretty ugly game if you're a Commanders fan. Terry and Debo are trending towards playing, but it's going to be very tough to start them with Mariota on the helm. Hopefully you have some other options. I think I'd start Romeo Dobbs over probably both of them coming off that injury and up against the Chiefs. For the Chiefs side of the ball, Secko, Rashee Rice, he's going to get a touchdown, I think, no matter what. They just absolutely love him. I think Pacheco, you can start. He's seeing more use. I think Kareem Hunt is getting phased out a bit here. Pacheco got into the end zone last week as well, which was good. Also had the most carries he's had all year with 15 as well, and they should be a front a lot of this game. Kelsey must start. I'm calling it just because of that National Tight End Day, Patty Mahomes. I should have had the history of touchdowns for Kelsey and Tight Ends Day. I know for sure he scored last year.
It's not the day, though. It's not the day. It's the next day.
All weekend they celebrate it. They love it.
Okay, all right.
It's the whole thing. They'll be talking about it. I know it blew my mind, but I've been sticking close to it the last few years because I think there is some money to be made with that here. But Brashad Smith, perhaps for the Chiefs, Secko, do you look to start him? I know last week he got a lot more work because they were dominating in this game. Could be a very similar scenario against the Commanders.
Yeah, he's a sneaky bye week fill in, especially in sort of like a deeper league or deep bench or even dynasty sort of format. I can see him getting started by a lot of people because just sort of necessity. But I think he's definitely I think I agree with you. Hunt's sort of on the way out a bit. This guy can actually get work. Like think Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, those sort of what they wanted Kadarius Toney to be when they picked him up. Those sort of manufactured touches around the end zone type guy. Brashad Smith's definitely in that sort of frame. So he could do a lot worse than him.
And one guy I forgot to mention, Secko, for the Commanders, Bill Krosky-Merritt. What are we doing with him? Very tough defense against KC. KC are probably just purely going to focus on stopping that because Mariota isn't the greatest passer, but he's still the lead guy. They're probably going to lean on him a lot more with Mariota, but how are you feeling with Bill this week up against Kansas?
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about Bill. No one's really been great against Kansas City. So I think the expectations on Bill have to be pretty low. He hasn't really had a great efficiency outing for a long time. I think he's only had one good game. I was looking at his game log now, but he had 13 for 33 at 2.5, 17 for 61 at 3.6. Had the big one against the Chargers, who everyone's had a big one against. He had 7 for 47, 8 for 26. He obviously wasn't the major player any earlier than that. That breakout game, the Chargers seemed like a very, very long time ago because the opinions of him have changed pretty much for everyone. Look, I still think he's going to be fine for the rest of the year. I don't have him much more than sort of right at the end of the sort of RB2 landscape, but this is not the week to be trying to get him into your lineup. Again, bye weeks makes it hard. You haven't got a lot of options. I'd obviously start him over Pollard and Spears and the guys you're not really loving having anywhere near your lineup. But there's a lot of guys you'd rather put in ahead of him.
In this same game, Secko, what about Brashad Smith over Bill? That's probably that's a bit.
It's Bill. It's still Bill because thing about last week was that he had 73% of the running back touches still. So he's getting all the work. And I know that's not always, doesn't always translate when you're against a good defense, doesn't always translate. But yeah, they're going to keep giving him looks at it. They have to break one for it to be worthwhile. So yeah, he had 13 carries. Next closest was Rodriguez 3 and McNichols 2. They'll probably get back to him at the goal line again. I feel like there's a chance for that. He had two receptions last week as well. Like, it's not great, but there's a bit of safety there. Like, it's just, and look, if the receivers are back, I think it helps him a lot. The guys being out last week and the defense only having to sort of look after Jalen Lane and Chris Moore and Robbie Chosen, like all these guys. Like, of course, you're going to shut down Jacory. I think if Terry and Debo are both back, it really does open it up a lot more for him. So they can't just stack it in there. So keep an eye on. I think if the full complement are there, I think you can start him over almost every other questionable running back starter.
Yeah, love it. And that'll wrap up our week 8 breakdown for the games. Again, 3 less games this week with the 6 teams on bye. So yeah, hopefully, should be some juicy games ahead. No doubt it'll be good to watch early Monday morning. Now, we will get through some comments here in the chat. Thanks heaps everybody for sticking around and throwing these ones in. We will try and limit these to start-sit questions or SuperCoach trade dilemmas for this week. Of course, before we get in, if you are tuning in on YouTube, smack that like button. We absolutely love it. For each like, Mav will get a wet sock thrown under his bed. Moving forward, he likes to collect them as little totems. And also the subscribe. We drop 6 shows a week. If you do want to keep up to date with that, smack that subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when we are dropping new content for you guys to stay in tune with the NFL season. So without further ado, let's start getting into some comments. Off the bat, from the Smitty, I'll throw this one to you, Secko. Superflex PPR League, would you pick up Tyler Huntley because of Lamar?
No, Lamar won't miss. I don't know. Depends on how dire, how big the benches are, if it's a 14 or 16 team league, and you just need someone as a sheer backup option. Of course, he's going to be thereabouts. He's obviously going to be next up if Lamar's out. But yeah, I mean, you can if you want, and then drop him again when Lamar's confirmed in, I suppose, Smitty.
Yeah, I think if you are looking for quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor, if he starts, Andy Dalton, all those guys are going to be in the waivers. You definitely start those guys if Lamar is.
I'd rather pick up Zach Wilson. Like, this sounds crazy, but I'd rather pick up Zach Wilson than Tyler Huntley because I think there's more chance he plays.
Yep. And he loves the Mills. Absolutely loves the Mills. Moving on to Cheeseman. This is a SuperCoach question by looks. Pickens, Quentin Johnson, and Rome to Chase, London, and Booty. So Chase does have the bye in a couple of weeks. Pickens still has a bye to come. So does Quentin Johnston. Rome and London have passed their bye, but yeah, it looks like he's trying to save a bit of cash going down to Booty. Secko, how are you feeling about these 3 moves?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Obviously, he has to get rid of Rome for Booty to make the other ones work. So, yeah, that's cool, Cheese Man. Like, it's getting London past his bye. Yeah, look, I'm actually all good for it. Booty's buys later. He'll be out of your team by then. Chase is the only one you have to worry about. If you haven't got Rice or Lamb, it's definitely a good option.
Yeah, but I love moving at Pickens this week. I think he's just not gonna be able to sustain what he was doing. Next one up here from IJ. Mayfield and Adunze to CMC and Chase. So Mayfield on bye next week. Adunze, of course, he's had a few down games. I think Adunze is going to go off the next 2 games. Ravens and then Cincy. Yeah. I think they could go big. But I mean, CMC, Mayfield to CMC, that's an easy call if you need to make that. But yeah, how are you feeling?
This is SuperCoach, yeah. Like, I'm assuming this is SuperCoach, and which means that CMC is going to be, or he's going to be a running back in the flex, because he can't really. He's not moving out of quarterback in any of those scenarios for Mayfield, or he's not moving in a quarterback. So he's probably moving Mayfield out of the flex and CMC. Make sure that's a short-term thing. You don't want to be stuck with a non-quarterback in your flex for the rest of the year. So just, if that's your plan, I don't love it. If it's a 1-week thing and then you can toggle someone in there, namely you're waiting for Lamar to drop money or Josh Allen to drop money or whatever that looks like, absolutely, that's fine. Or you're waiting for Dart to fatten up in your Q2 spot, that's also fine. But yeah, if you're planning on running a non-QB in your flex for the rest of the year, I'd say no.
Another one here looks like a super coach from Theo. Ashton Genty to Josh Allen. Yep, love that. If you can, you must have a lot of cash in the bank. George Pickens to Jamar Chase.
Oh.
Again, if you Jamar Chase with that buy, I don't know. Chase is great coming in, but I don't know. I don't mind Justin Jefferson this week and rest of season. They've got a soft schedule coming up. Again, of course, you are impending the return of the wet sock, so things could look a little differently there for Justin Jefferson. Yeah, or not. Yeah,
he might not come back. We never know.
We never know.
We never know.
Thinking of boosting, trading out Cam Little, of course. Cam Little's got to go. The Jags get to Packers kicker Havaisk for more money. So I know there was reports that the Packers might be looking to move McManus to save up some cap, but I know for me, I'm not doing anything until I know that's confirmed. And I think there's still some nicer options out there. I know Mav, he's going Cam Little to Will Ricard, the Vikings kicker. They've got the next 4 games in a dome, and they're off the bye. But yeah, the only other questionable thing there for me would be Pickens to Jamar Chase. Like, I think you could probably wait until after the bye to bring him in. But what do you think, Secko?
Yeah. So Theo needs the money here in order to obviously facilitate the other big moves.
Oh, it's a downgrading. Yeah.
Well, that's why. And Havaisk, I think his name is whatever. He's 3.6 mil. He's like an absolute basement. So he's saving like the 8 mil off Cam Little to get to him, or 6 mil, whatever it is. So yeah, that's what's happening. I get it. Pickens has to go. If you haven't got anyone else who's already passed their bye, you can get Chase. That's cool. I'd almost just do Pickens to Lamb and save the money on that as well if you really need to do that. But I understand doing it. Havaisk, I'm worried about, because what happens if McManus doesn't get traded or cut and comes back next week? You use another trade to get rid of a guy with no money, or he might make 2 mil this week. Or 3 mil, whatever. But it's not really going to be a beneficial move if they do make the move. So, like Mel said, I'll wait for the confirmation that McManus is cut. If it doesn't happen before Sunday or Monday, I would pivot off that move.
Yeah, and I guess if you're looking for someone a cheaper kicking option, Badgley for the Colts, he's 5.2 million there as well, and he's got the starting job. So it might be another little option. One here from Charles. I know this one is a SuperCoach question, I believe. Seen the comments in a couple of videos here from Charles. And Charles, love the profile picture of the Lions and the Broncos, mate. I'll answer these questions every day of the week. Pittman Jr. or Booty? Secko, I know Booty, they've got the week 14 bye, and I think Colts are like week 11 or 12. 11.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about those guys? I think Booty's probably 3 mil cheaper.
It's you feel. I think that's the reason why Booty is being spoken about and thought about is you think that Drake May has to have a receiver, which I think maybe he does, and Diggs looked like he was going to be it, and then now he sort of looks like he might not be it. Booty can have big games, but he's going to go disappearing. Pittman's probably similar in a way with Downs back. And a bye coming in a couple of weeks, you can get off Pittman. It's a matter of what are you doing with the money to go down to Booty? Is your bye week fill-in? Well, obviously not, because you've got Pittman who'd be playing this week. So Charles, the question is, what are you doing with that money? If money is always good to have, don't get me wrong. You want to have a plan for what you do with that X amount of, I don't know how much million it is. It's probably about 3 or 4 mil, is it? I haven't got SuperCoach in front of me, but yeah, what's your plan for that money? And think about that before you sort of, make sure you have a plan.
Yeah, plan ahead for sure. Next one here from Brian. Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins? So I think on paper, I think you have to go with Jalen Noel, but we were discussing this like without Nico Collins, maybe they've planned this week without Nico and maybe Higgins is getting more of the work. So it's a toss-up. It's a gamble. But I'm probably going to go with Noel. Secko, I haven't seen it from Higgins yet.
Yeah, it's almost. I'm almost certain whatever I pick here will be wrong. It's one of those ones because we just haven't seen enough of these guys. We don't know game plan wise. Looks like they're both going to have a role. If Nico misses, which he should, and obviously Kirk's more or less already ruled out, I think. So these guys should both be prominent, the 1 and the 2, or it's definitely the 1 and the slot. So if Stroud has a half decent game, one of them's probably going to have a pretty big game. Just don't know which one. I'll lean Noel.
Yep. And another one here from Brian, and I think this is a pretty is this an easy one for you, Secko? I know Mason's your start of the week. Dobbins up against the Cowboys. I mean,
yeah,
it's a tough one. I think for me, I'm going Mason. But how are you feeling between him and Dobbins?
I'm going Mason when it's close. I don't think you can go against your start of the week otherwise. And Dobbins was actually on my short list of 3 guys for my start of the week, funnily enough. So you went Sutton to target that, which is the smarter move than targeting the running back. But Dobbins has been so impressive, and we're sort of all waiting for him to get injured. But until he does, he's just been everything, and he's keeping Harvey relevant in the process. But Payton obviously loves him. He's given opportunities, and Bo Nix is supporting that. But yeah, Mason should have just an absolute layup tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And this one here, Secko, I'll throw to you. Looks like SuperCoach. Cameron Dicker, the kicker, or Brandon Aubrey? So Cowboys week 10 and what charges at 12, I think, for the bye. So, yeah, much for muchness, really, right?
For the coin. Yeah. Definitely playing domes at home. Whoever has more dome games, pick them. That's my analysis on kickers, because I don't really know or care. They're both good offenses. They're both going to be in scoring position a lot. Their coaches don't go for it on 4th down, so they do kick a lot of field goals. Just pick your favourite.
I think for me, I'm going Aubrey purely because he's $400,000 cheaper. I'll save a bit of cash, bank it up, use it elsewhere.
Yep.
Looks like we've got another one here. Secko, it is traditional fantasy, I think. Which 2 would you start out of Javonte Williams, Scatterbo, and Judkins? So Judkins is up against who are the Browns playing again? The Patriots?
I didn't love the Patriots.
Yeah. Patriots. Scatterbo up against the Eagles, and Javonte against the Broncos in a revenge game. Man, they're all tough.
Revenge game. Game gets a nod, obviously. Javonte's in. I'm going to go Javonte and Judkins.
Yeah, it's a tough
one.
Hard
to say that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just have this pit of my gut feeling that the Giants are going to completely implode and just be embarrassed by the Eagles after what happened to them 2 weeks ago. I can't see a way that they're going to be okay with that. So I'm worried about it for all sides of the Giants.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there too. That Jalen Carter, he's going to make such an impact when they play again. One here from Blue Ball is Javonte or Judkins. I think for me it's Javonte just because of the matchup.
Both.
Both
like Javonte's playing like a top 10 guy. Like, and we said in the rundown, we're concerned about Judkins, efficiency and stuff. Javonte's got no concerns at all at the moment, and this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be running and passing. Equally, it's going to be pretty much, both teams in that game will be playing a pretty neutral game script, I think. So let's do the best of both things, and Javonte should smash again back at Mile High.
Yeah, I think he'll probably see more receptions too out of the 2 as well between Javonte and Judkins. So bring that floor up a little bit more. One here from Jack Parsons. Looks like it's SuperCoach. Want to downgrade Genty, but already have Bijan, CMC, Jacobs, and Gibbs. Oh man, what a toss-up. You've already got, you've got 5 of the, is that 5? Bijan, CMC, Jacobs, or is that 4?
No, 4.
That's 4.
4.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
worth doing
4.
Monongai, Vidal type or wait. How are you feeling?
Yeah, Jackie Football.
No,
I got this one for Jackie Football. This is I'm in the same situation as you are, mate. And this week I'm going Judkins. which doesn't do much for me, but what it does do is it gets me scores over the bye weeks. Well, there's one more bye week, so Gibbs bye week, and he's not going to lose cash this week. So I'm actually, and then something good could really happen. If he has a massive week, he can be great again. He can sit on my bench for a bit, and almost be my. So the idea is backup plan RB5, and have him as a guy so I can hold for the rest of the year if things go well there. I hopefully won't need to use his cash. But in your question, Vidal is just going to get the backfield. I don't hate that call at all. I definitely wouldn't go and get JT. I'd fade JT at this point and reassess later. He might be a luxury trade later on. If one of these four goes down or something happens and their quarterback goes down or they just turn to shit in general, you've a bit of a luxury spot here where it's probably going to be cheaper at some point in the future. And you know, the added little potential bonus that he just stopped scoring like an absolute LaDainian Tomlinson clone, and he comes back to the field and he scores like a normal running back and stops getting 3 touchdowns. So for that reason, you know, I would fade him. I would go Genty down to one of these guys that you've said. Fidel would be my call because Monagai, if Swift's playing, I don't think Monagai's got really that much of a ceiling in this game because it won't be run.
Love that there. And IJ, his question, it was a start or sit. So Aubrey or Dicker? So Dicker charges us Vikings.
What? Why have you got 2 kickers? What format's this? What is this?
Kickers galore.
If it's SuperCoach, get rid of one and make some money. If it's in fantasy, get rid of one. What are you doing?
Yeah, you're pulling your hair out trying to pick which one each week. But I mean, if you had to pick,
that's the worst start sit dilemma you could ever give yourself. Okay, all right. Sorry, RJ. Let's dig into this a bit more. Broncos are altitude. Aubrey kicking from 70. Do you get 7 points for a 70-yarder? If you do, start him. Where the Chargers are playing tomorrow night in a dome against the Vikings. I'd go Dicker.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah,
but we're likely to score more points. So the when it's close like this, and yes, the implied point total for the Broncos, it's Cowboys game. It will actually end up being about the same, I think. So what's that? 28, 22. So 27, 23 for them, and they're a bit under. But the thing is, they're at home team in a dome. They just get a lot of opportunities to kick field goals, like in these sort of close-ish games as well. So they very much easily see you could kick 3 field goals plus. And for that reason, in a bit of more of a defensive slog side for them, I'd lean that way, but it's hard. Avoid the conundrum.
Yeah. And the last question that
he said it later. He said 901. He said it's classic SuperCoach. Get rid of one, mate. 2 kickers. Get rid of Aubrey.
Yeah.
Now,
cash.
because he buys in a couple of weeks, and then you can get someone else later.
It's last question that we will answer tonight from our mate Punter. QBs, I have Allen and Dart. Trade. Allen and Dart. Yep. Trade Hurts to McCarthy and bank 20 million to go Genty to JT. You like? What do you think, Secko?
I love that last question. He's managed to wrangle in a wet sock question. That's fantastic. I never thought we'd get one about him because he could not be less relevant in SuperCoach. 100% no. Do not trade to a guy that might never ever play football again. What happens if Wentz comes out and absolutely wipes the floor with the Chargers tomorrow? Has 300. All he has to do is throw 2 long balls to JJ. Has 344. And he won't lose his spot. He's locked in for the rest of the season, and JJ's sitting there at 3.7. I would not be trading into him. I get the play. I understand it. I would rather trade into a lot of other players for less of a profit. But you are setting yourself up for a massive letdown. So I get it. Jonathan Taylor's not worth that. You don't need 20 million from Genty to Taylor anyway. You only need 12, so you can go Hurts down to a viable player. That's just me. I don't like. You asked, did I like it? I don't like it.
There you go, guys. That'll wrap things up. And yeah, of course, it's with a wet sock question there. Thanks heaps everybody for tuning in. A nice long 90-minute show to close out the week. hopefully you've got some good insight there and have answered some good start-sit questions. Again, links to our previous shows are in the description below. If you did miss, make sure to jump in before the week kicks off tomorrow. Best of luck for the week ahead, or we'll see you on Monday to break it all down.
Bye.